idealism is not magical thinking. Religion is magical thinking. You know, there is evidence for idealism having worked for many things. It achieved civil rights. Idealists achieved lots of things throughout history, have done lots of great things for people. The world may not be an ideal place, and not everyone in the world may be an intrinsic idealist in the sense that they should be. But the bottom line is that when religious people try to say that people who are idealists are believing in magical thinking, such as this book here, Born Liberal, Raised Right, it's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous because not only is religion itself magical thinking, because it's based on the idea of magical beings doing magical things, but religion has never offered the world any positives. Whereas people who were idealists, even though they may have been killed by people that weren't, usually religious people, have actually achieved real world changes for the positive on earth. Religious people overall have not done that. Okay? And like you could take the 1964 and just point to Martin Luther King Jr. and say, well, he was religious, but see, he tried to break down the walls of religion in a very idealistic way, saying that we should all join hands. I believe that all men, black, white, Catholic, Protestant, race, religion, culture would come together and join hands and be free at last. Everything that he taught was this very idealistic concept. And he didn't achieve that goal. But what he did achieve by being an idealist was civil rights for black people in the United States of America. He basically, with the help of many other black people and many white people, achieved freedom for a race of people simply because of idealism. And that's the power of idealism. Howard Zinn, for instance, who wrote A People's History of the United States, lived his whole life as an idealist. Did he change the world? Not as a whole. But it's people but he did change certain things. But it's people like this who say, his name is, let's see here, Reb Bradley, who thinks that we should just accept that we're all evil, like the Bible says, because a talking snake and a magical being told us that we are. Accept that, and then we'll have a better world by collectively accepting that we can't do anything good ever. And if you look at our world, historically speaking, when people like him completely ruled, the world was about the worst place it ever was. I mean, you can look at the Crusades. You can look at Nazi Germany, who was ruled by Adolf Hitler, who was professed in numerous speeches of being a Christian, of believing in Jesus. You can look at anybody who believes in these conservative ideals, and you can say that they're the ones who believe in magical thinking, and they don't get anything out of it except for what their own book, the Bible, or the Torah, or the Quran, says as a beginning, is all people are evil, they can't do anything good. That's what they get, and that's what their world always looks like. But then you come to the 20th century and the 21st century, where science and logic and liberalism has had just this much power, and has had the ability to basically open people's minds to the fact that they can do good. And lo and behold, we have civil rights. We have an appalling view of anything historical, like genocide that happened. We think those things are just unacceptable. Religion guided genocide. It guided Christopher Columbus when he killed the Arawak Indians in the island of Hispaniola, which is now the Dominican Republic in Haiti. It guided Adolf Hitler in Germany and his fascist ideology. The whole concept that liberals are in magical thinking, and let's see what else he says here, unchecked emotion, the inability to deny themselves anything. They deny reality. They deny scientific history.
Who does?
Christians and religious conservatives. Unchecked emotion. They let their unchecked emotion allow them to cause violence on others by bombing abortion clinics and beating up people who are homosexuals. And the entire South can be just one giant example of how conservatism has unchecked emotion. The Ku Klux Klan, the cross burnings in people's yards, hanging people, all because of their race. All of it comes out of conservative, traditional ideologies which are the rampant, unchecked emotions of human beings, the automatic acceptance that human beings are evil and that they can do no good. I mean, if you start with that kind of magical thinking, that human beings can't do anything good, even though there's lots of evidence for people that had done good. Even in the Christian faith, you could look at Martin Luther and look at the Lutheran Reformation and see that people, human beings, in spite of what their faith says, they sometimes step out of it. Because at the time, that's what he was doing. He was stepping out of traditional thinking in his faith and saying, I think we should do things this way. A human being, same way with Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake by the church in the 1500s, or Copernicus, or Galileo, or any of the great thinkers in history. They did good things, and it was their idealism that makes them notable and that makes the world a better place. But when you say that idealism and liberalism is just magical thinking, or it's the way a toddler thinks. If it's the way a toddler thinks, then it's the way we naturally think. And someone had to come along and just say, that doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be thinking this way. Well, we should be thinking naturally. That's the same thing Columbus said when he arrived to Hispaniola with Bartolome de las Casas. He said, these people are naive. We can take everything from them. No, they weren't naive, they were basically good. They were an idealistic culture. They had conflicts, but they didn't have war. They had battles, but they did not have warfare. And we came there and we introduced them to that with our Christian faith, because the Christian faith and the conservative Christian ideology is intrinsically violent and subversive of anything that stands against it. And so it wants to kill the idea that human beings can do good or can live good. In fact, it destroyed the history of cultures that were capable of doing that, just so that its culture, which is inherently subversive to others and destructive in itself, could rule the world. And that basically is Christian conservatism in a nutshell.